Hey everybody out there, it's Brother Stanley. I went ahead and gone live just so we can get started, and just in case some of you are viewing that from YouTube, come on over to the Hangout, and then we'll record this, of course, so that you can watch this. So we'll see if people hop in. If not, well, you're stuck with me. Sorry. Usually during these Hangouts, I usually carve out the first part and the end part to answer questions. So if you have any questions, you'll have to message me or send them out in the Google Hangout or in the Google community page, and we'll go from there because we're not able to answer them here. So we'll catch you next time. It must be a tough time for everybody. An interesting week as we jump into equal employment, as we jump into employment laws and talk about this idea of diversity. Diversity is kind of a fascinating subject, and so really want you to jump into the readings and learn what you can from that. And there's some things I think we can pull out of the idea of diversity and the kind of diversity initiatives that work versus those that just kind of help us meet a number that's required, in my opinion. So had a thought from the scriptures that I wanted to start out with. 2 Nephi chapter 26, verse 33. Speaking of the Lord, says, He doeth that which is good among the children of men, and he doeth nothing save it be plain unto the children of men. And he inviteth them all to come unto him and partake of his goodness, and he denieth none that come unto him, black and white, bond and free, male and female, and he remembereth the heathen, and all are alike unto God, both Jew and Gentile. So one of the things that strikes me when we're talking about employment law and diversity especially is we're talking about inclusion, talking about making sure all the groups and classes and types are included in the effort that we're making as organizations. The Lord is all-encompassing. He's all-inclusive. His diversity views are totally integrated. So he doesn't have to think about differentiation, only the integration of all of his children into his plan. So spiritually, we all know that we have a part in that plan. We have a personal plan of salvation, if you will, that's outlined in the gospel, but also very detailed. Things like our patriarchal blessings and the revelations we can receive for ourselves can give us insight into our personal plan of salvation. So I know that's true. I'm thankful for that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more further here. So just starting out, employment law is a huge, very important portion of human resources. If you don't know the laws, or at least some of the premise of the laws, it's hard for you as a manager to know what to be careful of. It's important for all of us to know what our rights are as employees and as managers to manage to those employee rights. So what I'll do is I'm going to post a website. It's eeoc.gov. This is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. This is a government organization that is tasked to make sure that companies, businesses, operations are all in compliance towards these important equal opportunity laws that we're going to discuss this week and read about. So I'm hoping you're finding it helpful to read through the employment vignettes. Those are some great scenarios on things that can come up. So if you go to the EEOC website and click on the newsroom, just the headlines themselves are fascinating. There's always something new. In fact, today there's a settlement on a EEOC sex discrimination suit. 2 days ago, Fifth and Wine Bar sued by EEOC for sex-based harassment and retaliation. EEOC sues Walmart for discriminating against employee with intellectual disability. EEOC issues quality practices plan on federal sector hearings, appeals, and oversight functions, so you can get into some of the legal jargon there. Preference hiring, all kinds of stuff. One that jumped out to me was down here. Where did it go? Well, I lost it. Now I'm leaving you hanging. Oh, oh yeah, this one. Listen to this one. EEOC issues regulations on federal government's obligation to engage in affirmative action for people with disabilities. So that caught my interest. I hadn't read it yet, but caught my interest because affirmative action is a form of diversity efforts, and putting that into the frame of people with disabilities, I thought it was interesting how they had folded that into one. So anyway, I'm going to jump in there and read that later. So, and what this is, just as I'm glancing, is it's the federal government's commitment to being a model employer of people with disabilities. So affirmative action is a measure to make sure that all people of all classes are included. That includes race and gender, age, and now the federal government is including disability in that effort to make sure that nobody's being left out. So that's what the basis of this week's reading is, to talk about what that means. And we learned the word paradigm. The Harvard case about embracing our differences is based on the word paradigm. So if you've read Stephen Covey, he uses the word paradigm. And so that's the first time I ever heard the word paradigm. But really, a paradigm is a framework, the way we see things. And so there's different ways to look at things, different lenses in which we can view things. And that's what the paradigm is referring to. So there are three paradigms when we're thinking about diversity programs. The first one is the assimilation paradigm. And that is focused on the fact that, hey, let's focus on where we're all the same. You know, we're not going to talk about differences. We're going to talk about where we are same, where we are equal. So, you know, you to work in the assimilation paradigm, and I'm looking at my notes, is you're looking at hiring a diverse set of employees. You encourage uniform behavior, right? You encourage similar behavior. The drawback is you subvert differences. Instead of gathering strength from differences, you subvert differences. Differentiation is the framework of, hey, we celebrate differences. We focus on what makes us different and dive into that. How's it going?
Good.
Good. Thanks for joining. I was just talking to space here for a minute, so I knew we were recording. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry. No, I'm just gonna go somewhere quiet.
So, talking about diversity this week, and I had just gone over a little bit of if you've been to the EEOC website, eeoc.gov, have you heard of that before, Ty?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
EEOC.
Yeah, I'll post it in our Google page. It's Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It's the government website for they are the group that ensures that there's not discrimination or harassment or anything against the equal employment laws that we're reading about. So I just hop into the newsroom every once in a while because there's tons of amazing headlines in there about all the money and problems that go into these issues. It's a big deal. So lawsuits, you name it.
Cool.
So kind of fun to check that out. And then I was just talking about the different paradigms that we were reading about in the Making Differences Matter.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
The employment vignettes. So have you been able to read any of that this week yet?
So this week, now this is embarrassing. Okay, so I have been obviously just trying to play catch up for a while now, but I do feel like I've nearly caught up to speed, but I have not done today's assignment or anything yet on the reading this week so far. So.
All right, well, that's fine. You got some time. No worries.
Mm-hmm.
No worries. Well, cool. Well, what's your background? Are you studying business or you?
I am. Yep.
Cool.
I'm doing entrepreneurial management, and it's my emphasis. This is my last semester here, and then I'll be doing my internship. I'm actually going to be selling life insurance. So
cool.
Just got past my Idaho exam. It was pretty tough, but I did it. So I'm now officially an independent agent, so I can start selling policies to people. So
Nice. Good for you. Cool. Well, so just to kind of get us talking a little bit. So when you saw the title of this week, Equal Employment Law and Diversity, did anything come to mind for you?
Well, unfortunately, I watched The Office, so like a lot of bad things came to mind. and actually, what I learned about The Office is everything on how not to do it. So
Yeah.
actually, a lot of things did come to mind because I've worked in actually worked as a Spanish-speaking representative in Melaleuca, and it was really cool because a lot of people were more fortunate, having served in other different countries, came with different languages and abilities to speak different languages to be different reps at work. But I do remember we had a whole training of HR on sexual discrimination and race discrimination. It was like a whole training seminar and everything. So I thought that was interesting. And I remember a lot from it because I remember like all the not to do's and things that can be prosecuted and stuff, especially on their part, which is interesting because it all goes back to the hiring and firing process. Like employers can't make decisions or put anything that would put them at risk when they're like through the entire process, hiring, firing, the interview, everything has to be followed because there's a lot of, I'd say pitfalls, but like a lot of opportunities to make a mistake like that. So.
Definitely, yeah. Employees are protected through the whole process.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and good that you got that training. I don't think we would choose to, hey, that sounds exciting, and go into sexual harassment training. Woohoo! But it's so important, and I think you probably picked some things up and gained some insights out of that. I would argue.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, and so, after you've gone through that training, why do you think we have to have that training every year or once every couple of years? How do you think about it just as an employee?
Yeah, oh boy. I guess the biggest one, like, well, one, the law doesn't change, so it's good to have a refresher because you could always make a mistake or go back to something, or maybe there's an office workspace culture, and perhaps sometimes it can go contradictory to what the rules might be, and then they could have those rules to once again correct it so they can put a stop to culture, office banter or office, workplace culture that essentially could be against those rules. So they'd want to refresh on that and maybe put a stop to it without actually, having to confront them about it, but they at least let them know, and then they could correct their ways. And if it persists, they could then talk to them.
Yeah, I like that. Good point. Yeah, usually if you're having that training, they're doing it just as a refresher, and it's been a year and they're doing it, or there may have been some issues, maybe some cultural issues, or some interaction issues that may have said, hey, let's have some more training. Yeah, it's important. It's because we've got to make sure that we're in compliance with those laws, because very easily you can get into a situation that could be a harassment situation, could be discriminatory, anything that makes for an intimidating environment. If you and I are interacting and we're comfortable with that, or we're having a conversation, we're comfortable with the content, we don't get to decide how this other person over here feels.
For sure.
They do, and so we have to be aware of that. So that's cool. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's not one of those things I think we would sign up for excitedly. But you may be a manager one day and you need to know about those laws and be aware of them. Yeah, the good old office. That's our frame of reference these days, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, cool. So our first week we talked about leadership, kind of overall HR strategy. Second week been focused on teamwork, and now we're looking at employment law and diversity. So it just kind of flows together. As far as your mindset goes, Ty, do you have Any particular interest or things you want to learn about HR or expand upon and what you want to study?
Honestly, I was actually surprised. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Were we supposed to only just choose the person we were supposed to interview, or because I think, well, I just called because I had this old contact in my book, and she's been an old family friend. So I actually just called her up, and then I did this interview.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't sure. Was I supposed to have done the interview already? Because I did the interview and I found out a lot of things about HR that I never even considered before.
Cool. Yeah, you're supposed to do it by now. It was part of week 3.
Really? Okay. So I don't know if I submitted it again then, because I think I only submitted it once.
Okay.
Is it too late to submit? Because I already did the assignment, I feel, or I fit the criteria, I believe.
I think I saw a post from you, but I'll make sure.
Mm-hmm.
If not, I can have you send it over to me. I know you're.
Yeah, because yeah, like I said, and that was actually the interview that really got things going for me. Because like I said, having watched The Office, I kind of thought the HR was like the ones that the rule makers and breakers. But what Kelly brought to my attention was there, like I said, even from the process of selecting, the hiring process, or the interviewing process, then the hiring process, and then the training process, and even severance and like exiting strategies or leaving the company, they all have to fit those guidelines and specifications. One, the federal rules, and then and even state regulations as well. So yeah. I mean, I never really thought like maybe I would be the kind of person that would have to be hiring and firing people. That's just never really crossed my mind. But it was really helpful to see that either I could learn to do it or, find someone that does it for me. But I realized that even looking for someone to do that for me, I would have to make sure I abide by those rules. So in the end, they're absolutely necessary. And I didn't realize how much HR did. I really thought they were just like, what is it? I liked it. Kelly told me HR, she wishes everyone knew it didn't mean human resources, but it means human respect. So I thought that was kind of cool. So that's what HR is to her. And I was like, you know what? Like, those are all rules that I do need to know. And that's why I really liked it so far. And I thought it was great. The teamwork one was done as a group because it really helped me like finally figure out like how to get a group together. And it can be stressful, especially doing group projects together. So
yeah. Just like this class, we do group work every week. So yeah, I'm glad you had a good interview. Does she work in HR now?
No, so currently she says she's retired, although she's doing like her own thing with her husband now. But she but yeah, she worked as the human resources president at several different companies. One was a kind of like a gift giving thing online or something. But one of the ones that I do remember was the Montage Hotel. It was a series of hotels that were mainly up in Park City, and that's where she would, as HR president, do a lot of the hiring, the firing, and also dealing, like I said, within those guidelines, creating the company policies, and then also, how help create that office culture.
Excellent. Well, good. Yeah, I love that assignment because it gets you talking to someone that has experience in the field, and I think you found something that's important. It's a scope of what HR does. The goal of human resources, everybody out there, is to become a business partner. The old school mindset is, oh yeah, they're the paper pushers and they have a few policies and they sign my paychecks. No, a lot of times payroll is outsourced now. HR is very much employee relations, and yeah, I like what you said. I like what your interview said. Human respect and staying within those guidelines. So we do get to put the brakes on sometimes. We have a manager who's having the stress of dealing with a difficult employee. They're like, oh man, we need to deal with this guy. We need to fire this guy. And I said, hold on. What have we talked about with this person? Have we coached this person? Is our conscience clear on that? And then what I do is turn the tables. Say, okay, if this was you in their position, would you feel right about that?
Mm-hmm.
And put the brakes on some of that thinking, some of the emotional thinking that happens when we're managing people.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For sure.
So yeah.
This is a quick question. I was just wondering, was there other people in my group that are supposed to be on tonight, or is this our personal time?
Yeah, so this is for everybody. We're kind of short tonight, so this is for
okay.
everybody to join. The whole class can join this.
Oh, snap. Wait, or is Travis also here or not? Is he just listening?
So I'm Travis Stanley.
Oh, wait, no, okay. I thought we had a Travis in the class too.
Oh, we might. I don't think, well,
I thought there was a Travis.
I don't think so.
Maybe I might thinking of Trevor, and I might be having this confused with international business too. Both of them are online, and I do group projects all the same, so I may have had that confused.
No worries. Yeah, so each week we'll do an instructor hangout, and we do it Wednesdays at 7. So
okay, perfect. Yeah, I knew about the video, and that's why I got on as quick as I could. So
I'm glad you did. Yeah, we always record them. So the requirement is to either attend live or watch the recording.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, attending live allows you to interact, and so it's fun when we have a handful of people in here, and then we'll really get a good discussion going.
Mm-hmm.
Usually about the topics for the week, some of the reading, or any examples that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Current events in HR. So yeah, but yeah, glad you made it. Do you have any other questions? Have you been able to get with your group?
Oh, so actually, I think I had one question. Let me just check. I learned tonight. Okay, so there's the quiz, and then the plan ahead doohickeys problem. That's it says it's due tonight, but does that mean, because I think our group had planned to meet tomorrow morning at 8. That's when we're meeting. Is that okay if we submit the paper? Because is it due tonight?
No, the first paper is due on the 1st. I think is Monday morning.
Oh, okay, on Monday morning. Okay, okay, because I thought, or maybe it was just the plan ahead. Maybe that's just was it just like a reminder? Because I haven't actually opened it.
I have a plan ahead type of assignment in there. It's just kind of to prompt you to get with your group and
okay, good.
Working on that.
Good. Okay, yeah, because our group is meeting tomorrow morning at 8, so cool. That's when we're going to meet and then start our assignment. So I just actually wanted to check. So I'm glad I came tonight because I got to know.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, so you'll meet you'll just meet over Google and then post your video into the community page.
Mm-hmm. And
that kind of allows everybody to see, or allows me to check on that, and I'll listen in. I'll try to join when I can, but I work during the day, so often I'll watch the recordings.
Yeah. Oh, and for sure, and that's the one last question. Oh, we got another one joined. Sweet.
Amadeo's here. How's it going? Oh, we'll give him a minute.
There you go. Good. I was trying to get on with the mobile device, but whenever you click the link, it wouldn't let me do it. So
oh darn,
racing home to try to get a computer to get on. So
well, cool. Well, glad you made it. Ty joined a few minutes ago. We're just kind of talking about questions, and we talked about his HR interview. He learned a lot from interviewing a HR professional. So, how's it going for you, Amadeo?
Great. This is pretty standard.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been a business professional for a long time, so HR is the enemy.
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Actually, I just had a run-in with them. I had to go talk with them just the other day, just because, we did one of my managers did a performance improvement plan, and it's kind of funny. This is so textbook, because we did a performance improvement plan on this guy. 2 months ago, we gave him a review that meets expectations, and now 2 months later, we do a PIP, and the world is falling down. This guy is terrible. So we didn't run it by HR, and they got a little upset, and so.
Okay. How often do you do the reviews?
We do them yearly. We're sort of old school.
Yeah, the old school way. Yeah.
But most of it's interesting. We do most of our we do a lot of informal ones. But we've never developed a process within the organization for the type that we learned a couple of weeks ago. That really is a new way to do it, where you're having weekly, if not maybe biweekly or monthly meetings with your direct reports. You're talking with them, and you're building sort of a relationship with them, and understanding where they're at and how they're feeling, and sort of creating that trust. And maybe each week or each time you guys have a discussion, it's redirecting and helping them focus on maybe some things that maybe they missed in the past couple of weeks. So we do that, or a lot of my managers do that with some of the newer guys. It's hard. I work in the construction industry, so you're dealing with guys that have been 25 years experience, and they don't ever want to change.
Yeah, they're set in their ways.
Right.
Huh, yeah, that's interesting. That reading is actually really helpful with kind of that new way of thinking about performance reviews. I'm in the same way at my current company. We do the annual review. We do a mid-year. I have one-on-ones every other week with my boss, but
right.
You have any of you had a boss where you don't get any feedback? Have you been in that situation?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but for me, it's like, okay, well, hey, how am I doing?
Yeah.
I assume I'm doing okay.
For sure. Actually, so when I worked at Melaleuca, that was the most strict interviews I had. And it was different because the following summer I went out and did summer sales, where as long as I was selling, I never got told anything by my boss. So I didn't know if I was selling really well or if I was selling poorly. But at Melaleuca, they tracked the exact minutes that you were on time, like how early you came in. Not even like if you were on time, it was like how early and how much time did you give yourself before you got into work. How long your average call time was. Like there was a lot of things that they would scrutinize, and they really honed in on that. And so it was like definitely I'd say a little bit more humbling, just because like obviously like they could see every screw up I had possibly made, whereas pest control was so free ranged and I didn't worry at all. So I don't know, like I said, I've had complete freedom and I've had total micromanagement. I don't necessarily know which one's more effective. Obviously, in the two different work fields, it's different. But
very. What about your company, Amadeo? So you mentioned a little bit. You have a lot of guys working for 25 years.
Yeah. So I mean, we're a pretty tight knit group, and there's my current boss. We're pretty good friends. Actually, we know each other. We went to BYU together. I went to BYU and was a senior, then pretty much stopped, got a job, and thought that was it. That's the whole purpose, right? Go to school to get a job, and I landed the job. So, but yeah, so we're pretty good. I think I've been with this company for 6 years, and we have a pretty open relationship. So, sometimes it is a little bit awkward because we are, personal friends, and we have a working relationship too that we have to maintain with everyone else in the organization, and so, but we've been able to speak frankly to each other and just say, hey, here's where are we at? Where am I at? How are we doing? And I think it's been easier, I think, than previous jobs that I've had with management that just does not like to give feedback. I think this week we listened to what is her name? The
TED Talk video, yeah.
The TED Talk this week.
Colorblind.
Yeah, I think it goes even beyond that, where management or people in general in the office setting just don't want to have those hard conversations, whether it's about race or about performance. It's easier to sweep it under the rug and not discuss it. And people are afraid of getting, maybe not being liked, or what other people think, or, maybe retaliation or retribution, or there's all these, fears that people have in the workplace, and they just rather put their head down and just pretend like it never existed. So I thought her case was good. I felt, the hard part about, the hard topics like she was talking about as far as race is concerned, is there is a lot of fear in the workplace with specifically HR. It's like people feel like they can't talk about this because, one, maybe some guy will perceive it as harassment, or maybe they take it out of context, or they don't, maybe you don't deliver it the way you really think, or how you feel, and it comes off, differently, and they take it the wrong way. And now, what you said might be, considered, harassment, or some type of, I don't know. But, we're so litigious now. It's like, you almost can't do anything anymore, or there is that feeling within the workplace that you can't say how you really feel because of, what it could do to your career.
Yeah, it's out there. And yeah, before you jumped on, I was talking about the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity. Right. So you go to their website, the newsroom is full of those headlines, the litigation, the payouts, the lawsuits that are going on. And it is, and I think there is that element of fear. And that video, the title is Color Brave.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Interesting. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, within our organization, it's funny. We rarely fire somebody. It's sad, but we lay them off instead. We reorganize our department, and titles might get changed just to create that loophole of, if you're laying off, then you can't hire somebody in that same position. And so it's unfortunate because, you get one lawsuit and then, it's like, well, forget it. You know what I mean? So it's so hard really nowadays to do business. It's you're fighting against everything. Not only do you have to, you've got Social Security, you've got unemployment, you've got workers' comp, all those insurance, that you have to have for each one of your employees. So it's hard. On top of that, you've got, you need to build in contingency for lawsuits now,
It's definitely out there. I think it's an opportunity to create partnerships where you can and the best you can.
Yep.
So that you're working towards common goals. Believe it or not, HR does or should have common goals to the business.
Yeah.
And a dialogue there. I deal with that. We've been dealing with some issues with staffing at work, and it's sometimes feels like we're wrestling with each other. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we're actually on the same side of the token here. So, I would look forward to create those partnerships, because then you can move the business forward by still maintaining the culture that you want to maintain.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a battle because, yeah, you're right. We end up fearing what could go wrong, or fearing for saying the wrong thing, or fearing getting sued. But if we have good processes in place, then things go a lot better than otherwise. So,
right.
I want to go back to that video. What did you think about the video? I mean, this idea of diversity, we've got protected classes, we've got the discussion on race, gender. In your minds, do you think that's an issue? Or should it be an issue? Or what's your gauge on that?
Me first, or I don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, my wife is studying sociology, which is the study of human behaviors from their society. So I actually think it's interesting because she always brings cases to me and lets me know that there's still a lot of terrible things going on in the world, particularly dealing with race and even sexism, which is really too bad, because obviously, like, she's always pulling these facts and coming home letting me know, like, women are still getting paid, like, for same jobs less than men, which, I mean, I don't know how to justify. I mean, if they're doing the same job, I wouldn't think they deserve any less. And I have a very strong opinionated wife, so she made me believe that way. But but honestly, like, it's almost shocking to me to think that there's still this stuff that's going on today, because I remember when I was reading in high school, we read Huckleberry Finn, and there was like the whole problem, like whether or not the book should be allowed or stuff, due to offensive language. And I almost sat there and I was like, why would we ever stop reading this? Because, like, you have to, like, learn from history. Like, I couldn't believe we ever allowed something as terrible as slavery, or even have stuff like prejudice and sexism and stuff exist today, let alone that it ever was a norm in the past. But it's like, if we don't learn, like, we would repeat those mistakes. So to me, it's just as prevalent as today as it ever has been. It may not be manifest, like I said. Sometimes I'm still surprised to find that even in the work sector, there's still problems with this. It's still very much a prevalent issue, and it needs to be addressed. Like you said, sorry, is it Amado? Amadeo, sorry, I didn't say that right. Butchered your name. But you said there's a contingency plan for lawsuits, and absolutely, because I think with the millennials, there's almost this sense of entitlement. So, and they'll take offense. Like, it doesn't matter, whatever your class is or anything, but, anyone could really take offense to anything. So, as members of the church, we're taught not to take offense, but it still happens, but with good reason. I think there's plenty of cases and instances where people have been stepping out, overstepping their bounds and offending people that way. So.
Cool. So I appreciate that. So bringing in the sociological element, this is societal view of things. Definitely.
Well, I think the only problem is that you can't force it. It has to happen. It has to evolve sort of organically. It's just unfortunate. She named off a few statistics. That out of the top 200, the top 200 Fortune 500 companies, there's only 10 minority CEOs, and I mean, you can't just create CEOs out of whole cloth. You can't just place minority guys in those positions and hope they succeed or think that they will succeed. So I think her idea of just being color brave in the workplace is something everyone sort of needs to grasp, which is accepting diversity, accepting people's backgrounds, and that's what makes a company more successful when you bring other people's experiences. I've done a lot of hiring, and I've gone to sort of, it's been a while, but I've gone to a sort of a behavioral based interviews. I'd rather have somebody that, is resourceful, can think on his feet, or can be trained, rather than somebody that has the technical knowledge or skill. Because you can, if they're willing to learn or can learn, you can train that part. The hard part is training, good work ethic, guys that are going to be there on time, guys that are resourceful and want to learn. So that's the kind of people that we look for within our organization. We hire a lot of people, right out of college, and they got no experience, and you can kind of, for the most part, you can kind of tell, within 30 minutes, what type of person they're going to be, and if they can get it, So I think the sociological aspect of it is really, it's going to take time. I mean, I think today we are far more advanced than we ever were. Like my children, they're colorblind from the beginning, right? Which is great. And then what happens is they go to school, they get taught about all the racism, and now they're like, oh wait, what? This is all weird, and then then you have to reteach them to be color brave. So I think, I don't know, to a certain extent, I think we do ourselves a disfavor by, you know, rehashing all this stuff. I mean, yeah, we need to learn from it, but I think, you know, today more than ever, you know, these kids, they're accepting, you know, they don't really see color as an issue. It's not even a part of their vocabulary until they're taught it, you know, which is
I
unfortunate.
appreciate that. It's true. You know, I really agree with you, Amadeo, that I think it does have to happen naturally, organically. The reading brings that out. If you've read the Making Differences Matter, there's the different paradigms.
Yeah.
You know, you think about affirmative action and we say, okay, we're going to hire this many of this many of this. And you got to think about, okay, is that really helping our organization be effective? We're meeting the number, but we've got to hire people with the right attributes, right? Like you mentioned.
Right.
In the TED Talk video, remember that example about ESPN? The boss said, should I hire this this person because they're black, or
to hire the most qualified person? And the answer was yes.
Yeah, and the answer was yes, because we need talent and we need the diversity.
Right.
But yeah, we've got to look past, in my mind, color brave is unlearning the things that we've learned and becoming more like a child, not having those barriers there in place.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I don't know if we can put an initiative on that will fix that. It's a culture, it's a mindset.
Right.
So yeah, so it's interesting to go through this reading because there's the 3 paradigms, and of course the goal is the integration. You know, we cherish differences, but we also cherish why we are all the same.
Right.
And we make that work, and we use that to our best. We leverage differences, and you know, people think differently than we do, and we say, awesome, bring your ideas to the table, and use that to the benefit of the business. So it's an interesting discussion, but I don't know how we get there. Any thoughts on how we get to that integration mindset rather than diversity initiative?
Well, I think we're getting there. I mean, you know, I'm Hispanic. You know, I went. You know, it was interesting. You know, it took a long time for me to go by my given name, Amadeo, just because growing up, I mean, a lot of people just made fun of me. You know, and so I think today, though, I mean, we're so diverse as a country, as the world. The world is a lot closer than it ever has been, I think. You know, people in general are, you know, I wouldn't say in general. I say there are people that are, you know, jerks, and you're not gonna get around that. Some people are just jerks, and so I don't know. I think it's up to, you know, us parents, future parents, to teach that, you know, we're all God's children. I mean, that's what it boils down to, and that's the only way we're ever gonna, you know, break down these barriers, by realizing we're all sons and daughters of God. And you know, it's just unfortunate some people just don't feel that way.
Yeah, that is the bottom line. Thank goodness for that understanding. Right. Any thoughts on that, Ty?
I think that actually it's kind of interesting. I feel like as members of the church, we know how to solve a lot of these issues, but it's hard to integrate for the rest of the world to see. So, actually, no, I thought it was interesting because I actually sat in my wife's lecture. She's teaching a sociology introduction course this semester, and she talked about how I can't even remember the word. I guess I'm not studying sociology, and that's kind of obvious. But she said actually, let's see. The term was, if you look at another culture based on your beliefs, you might view them as like different or wrong, and that's kind of like a prejudice or a biased way of looking at things. But it's really cool, and you can take a step back and understand why a culture or a certain type. It's cultural relativism or something like that. I think that's the word I'm looking for, and it's you're able to view things objectively and see like, oh, the reason, because like for example, we members of the church, when we say like we do baptisms for the dead, it sounds kind of scary. And if you don't know what it means, you might be like, why do you do that? Like, that's kind of scary. It's kind of seems messed up. But then when you find out we're actually doing it because we want to help people that have never received the gospel, and even when you actually know what baptism for the dead means, it's not as scary. So that cultural relativism goes away. So again, there are types of culture that should be accepted, and we shouldn't shy away from just because it's different. Like you said, it's not wrong. It's just different. Except cannibalism, there's no justification for that. But yeah, for sure. So I think that's part of it. Like, and we as members of the church, we're always taught to be accepting and to be loving and understand. Like, never love the sinner, hate the sin kind of thing. Although I don't even know if that's a good standing. That's just something I say because I know we're supposed to love everybody. But yeah, that's definitely, I'd say, something that the world's catching up to, thankfully.
Well, you guys are great with your comments. This discussion always leads me to something that we've already mentioned. Well, the two things we talked about: love, like you said, Ty, and then Amadeo, you mentioned children. And you watch children; they really are colorblind. They're disability blind. If you walk by the nursery, they're playing together. They're giving each other hugs and kisses, and it doesn't matter. And I think, no wonder the Lord in the scriptures asked us to become as little children. I think that's a big part of it, is to shed some of those biases and those prejudices that for some reason come into our psyches, and work through those and be filled with love. So invitation, if I could give an invitation, identify an idea or a person or a culture that maybe of you, something that might rub you the wrong way, or somewhere where there might be some conflict, and try to see it from that person's lens, and see what your experience is. So whether that's at work or school or at home, that would be my invitation. Try that this week and see how you can extend more love or more understanding that person or idea.
All right, sounds good.
Try.
Yep.
Something I've been working on, and it's fascinating to try to in someone else's viewpoint and at least try to see where they're coming from. And I know a lot of us do that already, but maybe making it that focus might be a good little exercise. So appreciate you guys. Yeah, I definitely know that the Lord expects us to be fully integrated in our views of diversity. I read a scripture before you guys came on at 2 Nephi 26:33. He inviteth them all to come unto him and partake of his goodness, and he denieth none that come unto him, black and white, bond and free, male and female, and he remembereth the heathen, and all are alike unto God, both Jew and Gentile. And so I think that's a goal that we can keep in mind, that we're all trying to go in the same direction, and if we can do that together, we'll become better. So, appreciate that. Any questions come up or anything before we sign off tonight?
I actually just had one final question. I posted my video, and when I watched it, I couldn't hear any audio. Did that happen, or were you able to hear it?
I'll check it out. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to it.
Because half our group met. Yeah, half our group met, but I ended up meeting with another half. It was me and Taylor.
Okay.
We met Taylor Neville, and so we both talked and then spoke about the. I think it was the case study that we were supposed to do. Yeah, the group case study. So
I had a question. Were we supposed to? Was there a? I thought every other week we were doing a discussion board on the Hangout page.
Yeah, you'll actually meet with your group each week.
Oh, that's it. That's the. Okay, I didn't know that was for whatever reason. I thought it was a question or whatever that we were supposed to answer.
There is a discussion leader assignment.
Yeah, I know that. They do that each week, based on our.
Yeah,
okay, I get it now. I was a little confused. I thought there was on top of what our group did. We were supposed to
No, you kind of have some flexibility on how you run as a group. So you generally discuss the readings and topics for the week, and then at the same time you're working through the doohickeys.
Yeah, we did that.
Okay. So,
Good.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna sign out. Thanks, guys.
yeah, thank you all. Thanks. Have a good one.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks again.
Have a great night. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.